We have a
Family
ride.
resemblance.
Yes.
You look a lot alike. You grew up here.
See,
Look through some of my.
So,
my steel bridge partner. We have arrived to New Orleans airport and we're going to take a limo to the hotel.
limo. Hello.
Driving in style.
Hello, Dr. Zany Camera.
Okay, we're going to take a
Enough
limo. How do you feel about taking the limo?
Might as well drive in style.
All right.
Can someone find $200?
Girls, how do you feel about taking the limo?
Very excited.
All right. And here's our big father, Dr. Gwaltney. Professor Gwaltney is going to take us with the limo. Since he's going to pay, so we have to give him his prestige.
You're giving the prestige to his backside.
Yes, and our alumni
We should find
graduated year 2000.
Okay. All right, we'll see you.
State your name.
I'm just Tim Barnett. I'm just doing a little business down here in New Orleans today. So
Oh, no way. You're coming with us because you are a UE alumni.
Absolutely. I'm 2000 alumni and glad to be here with the students.
State your name and spell your last name.
Tim Barnett. Barnett, sir.
Are you ready?
It's going to be a good time.
How do you feel about riding a limo?
I feel very positive about riding in the limo.
All right. Okay.
educational experience for
And here is our limo. And everybody is riding that limo.
Yes. He was going to shut the curtain down money.
Now you got to actually give me that camera so I can get you on that tape too.
Sure, here we go. It's recording.
Al Zany, ladies and gentlemen. Al, yeah. Rockstar Transportation. Al Zany on the red carpet.
It's good to close the door for me.
No, there really is a mini bar.
It's good to close the door for me.
What's that? Oh yeah.
How's it going?
Not sure how to turn it off. There we go.
And then there's a limo.
And here's everybody in the limo.
Let's ride it. Okay, who else feels like a rock star?
Oh, wow. Isn't it nice to be a millionaire?
Can we like open the sunroof and take our heads out?
Wow.
That's really quite a prize too, really.
Yeah.
You guys want to put this over there someplace?
We have plenty of space.
Yeah, we got some controls.
And here's Ben,
Definitely just
my steel bridge partner.
you definitely just touch the trunk with like half the bag still out.
Which of these? Oh, it's
Playing Miles Fred.
Yes. Cheese.
hey, what's up, yo? That's a bit. He's putting more back in the front. I'm definitely taking one over here.
Everybody smile.
Okay. Is that? This is a
there he
TV, right?
Yeah, you just
This is a TV, right?
hold up your butt.
I don't see very well in the dark.
Oh, here we go.
Light.
Yeah, we got all kinds of flash going on. Hey. Paparazzi. Okay, everybody smile.
Everybody smile. Amy.
Cheese.
That's a good pic. This is a film camera. I'm not gonna steal this.
Where'd you go?
Coming down.
Oh.
If we'd only known, we could have had
It's really dark in here.
where the TV is.
Somebody smile.
Right here.
Watch out.
Oh, right. Oh, see?
One of the students got arrested for public
Oh, that where the
intoxication in
controls are? Hey,
Purdue.
that's it. Just in time. There we go. Open those sunroofs.
I bet y'all thought I couldn't get all that luggage in there.
That's a good job.
We're going to wait when we drive off.
Hello?
So they left.
We got sunroofs.
It's going to take us about 20, 30 minutes to get to the Crown Plaza.
Okay.
My name is Harold. I'll be your driver. Sit back and enjoy the ride.
Okay.
Thank you. You will.
Who wants to take a picture of me in this guy?
Okay.
Everybody say hi to my mom when I get on the phone.
Hey, Mom.
Anything
down there, Amy?
She's planning our memorial on the plane.
Okay, bye, Mom.
Yes, I am.
Okay, we even got 8 couples in there.
Thanks.
That's fine. Yeah, that'd be fine.
What about
Thanks.
the movie?
Chicken.
Why didn't we just wait until we got out here?
We're not smart as we thought we were. There we go.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks. Bye.
Well, we should be pretty early. Yeah. Conference didn't start officially until 3.
Are we allowed to check into our hotel rooms before
I
this?
hope so.
We'll just walk around the lobby and
I have a place to store.
All right. After we have arrived to the hotel and everybody was leaving the limo, and it's very sunny here. We left Indiana at 20 degrees. And we're coming here to the 70s.
Take this jacket off.
Everybody's hot, everybody's taking his or her jacket off. Professor Gwaltney is paying for the trip.
I don't know.
The new? Yeah. I never noticed it.
Must be a revision, because I don't remember that either.
Walk on that side, we come down, go where the George Theater. Start right side, right, left.
Here we go, walking, looking for a restaurant to eat. Yeah. This is like a medieval street, very narrow. What is that?
Edison Place. What is that?
Well, is that a famous place where a guy used to blow a horn?
Well, let's find out.
2 of them.
They don't keep it up there.
No, it's definitely just the place where they used to have the home electric substation.
It's the locals.
We put down more 3 watts.
That's what I'm at.
Could have been on.
Can we ride this instead of the lunch?
Where are we at? What street was that?
Right here is, that was Bourbon. You said it was on Bourbon and Ivanville. So I'm guessing it's probably more that way. This is more like it right here.
There we go.
Except you can't eat inside. Take out.
Oh, you can? Yeah, there's stools right there.
Right plug out.
This guy's closed.
I don't know.
Oh, cigar shop.
Yeah,
closed.
he's closed. Damn, we found some place in the closed.
I'm correct, it's cigar shop.
Yeah, we make our favorite.
We're talking about three entirely different things in 2 weeks.
You need to bring your map with you. I know that. How you get your laptop with you?
No,
Use the soul.
it's in the room. They have a
I think we
safe.
can hook, log onto the internet.
Yeah.
You could, except it's not logged into the internet.
UV has an 800 number that you dial in and you just be on the network. Did you try that before?
Yeah.
It's nice.
Can you do it? I've never done it from a cell phone.
No, actually,
I think you can.
you can, but I've never done it from a cell phone. But this way I can grab any file from my PC at the school because you'll be on the local network inside the firewall. So you're dialing in inside the firewall, not outside. So you can just
That's the
be
difference?
yeah. If you are outside of the firewall, you can't access your files. Inside the firewall, just like sitting on the lab. Just like sitting on the lab next door in 271. Oh yeah, look at this.
Kick guitar, we'll reach out and together. Thank God you're gonna have big fun down on the bayou. Don't forget to introduce you.
Forget to seal sculpture.
There you go. Very smart, man. You make it through the middle. Go ahead. Both hands. You hold it with both hands. You're scaring the shit out of me. Rub it with a knife. I'm a surgeon. Pull it out, man. Pull it out. Insert. Go ahead. Open it up. Oh, shit. Oh, he's good now, isn't he, Steve? There's no fucking way. I just did it, man. Steve. Ooh, look at, hey, man. Hey, man, do you have your, Steve? Hey, Steve.
He's good.
Will you back up and get out of here? Jimmy, Johnny, and Joey done it. Get out of here.
We're eating our lunch. Our lunch is going to be a fried alligator.
That's why we're getting our bearings now.
How big is the fried alligator here, sir? How big is the fried alligator?
It's too big.
Too big?
Can we watch him fry?
We in New Orleans. Still, this is the hotel. get down from the hotel, you get to the right to the downtown area where all the nice activities are. This is looks like a very busy, very nice street.
I did already.
This is the display for the different chapters.
Well, I figured it was 150, but
Thank you.
you're part of it, man. Yeah.
Find out.
And this is an evidence that Craig was paying attention
That's the greatest.
to during the lecture time. This is an evidence that he was listening to everything and he was recording every bit of information that he received. He was creating that. Yes,
made me do
and
it.
Amy had no part in this, only Craig.
Amy made me do it.
So everybody say hi to Craig.
Ingenuity.
Yes,
Ingenuity.
and Gualteri was the supervising of the project.
I'm not here.
Yes.
We got a lot of great stuff left. It's an exciting adventure. WSCO.
Keep coming?
Yeah,
keep coming.
well, actually, I've been smokeless for 2 or 3 days, a couple times already this year.
Thanks.
Don't drop it. It's all right. You can come over this way. I'm not like party. I will not have another cigarette, you know. Just like,
This is a nice balcony viewing Durban Street and Canal Street from the hotel. Huh?
do you have any beads?
No.
But if you
Do you?
probably would want to see
This is the gambling casino. And this is the World Trade Center. I'm heading towards the River Walk. Excuse me, sir. Now I'm on the boat. And this is the River Walk. Our folks went to eat lunch.
Monumenting title of nobility, Sieur de Bienville. Bienville, along with his older explorer by the Iberville, explored the Louisiana Territory, gained vast knowledge of the region, but when the task came down to founding a city, it was given to younger brother Bienville, who had become more familiar with the local territory. He founded the city in 1718, calling it Nouvelle-Orleans in honor of the reigning regent of France at that time, the Duke of Orleans. He was also 3 times governor of the territory of Louisiana. Today, Bienville and Iberville are 2 streets which run side by side in the old French Quarter.
somebody else to be a camera that would take it down. So I'm just nothing to throw.
Next on your left, you see the Jackson Brewery. They used to brew Jack's beer at the Jack's Brewery. Jack's was an old New Orleans tradition for many years. Recently renovated, however, now houses 60 shops and restaurants, creating a riverfront festival marketplace and a restored 19th century brewery. Past the Jack's Brewery, coming into view is the most famous of all New Orleans landmarks, Jackson Square. The center of the square is dominated by the St. Louis Cathedral, built in 1794 Spanish design, however rather remodeled to its present appearance in the year 1851. The building to the right of it is the Presbyterian Priest House, built in 1791. The building to the left is the Cabildo, home of the Spanish governing body in our first city hall, built in 1795. The brick buildings on either side of the square, the Fontalba Apartments, built in 1850 by the Baroness de Fontalba. The boardwalk running across the top of the levee is the moonwalk. The news administration was built. Gray rock facing on the levee is riprap placed here by the U.S. engineers to prevent soil erosion. The earth on levees caused by these strong currents of the brick. Long buildings running parallel to the levee, which is on the other side, goes to the French market buildings, first advancing. Group dating
横に座ったと。
Louisiana went on to become governor of Louisiana for 2 terms, Governor Francis T. Nicholas. The yellow wharf to your left is Esplanade Avenue. Esplanade Avenue marks the lower boundary of the original city of New Orleans and the present-day French Quarter. The next 2 wharves to your left, Mandeville and Press Street, form part of the boundary of the first Creole suburb of New Orleans, known as the Faubourg Marigny, inherited in 1806 by Bernard Marigny de Mandeville, called by the historians the greatest Creole of them all because of the grand style of life that he lived. Mandeville was born a millionaire, but never really properly educated. And it kind of palmed it off to gamble with dice. The result, by the time he was 50 years old, Mandeville had gambled away all of his fortune and property, and at the age of 50, he had to go to work. This was a terrible shock for this fine old gentleman, but it seems that Mandeville had a strong constitution. He managed to work the remaining 33 years of his life before dying of poverty at the age of 3. Bernard Marigny de Mandeville, the greatest Creole of them all. So part of Mandeville's property, it seems that he planned to build a cotton press plant here. That is a machine where you can press cotton bales to 1/3 their original size to make them easier to ship and handle, and they take up less storage space. Well, his plans for this machine never materialized, and the street was named for his idea, Press Street. All of the ladies in the early days of New Orleans, it was tradition for the gentlemen who on property here to name the streets as they were being laid out around them, and we suppose that these gentlemen wanted to keep peace in the family that had the name of their wives, sweethearts, and daughters. Desire Street was originally called Desiree. Americans bought the Louisiana Territory, anglicized many of the old French names here, and Desiree became Desire, made famous, of course, by the Tennessee Williams play, a streetcar named Desire. The section of the city we're approaching to your left was in the early days one of the first American suburbs, none of those days a district. This was the District of Washington. In the District of Washington, we have street names which reflect the American influence. We have a street named Independence Street, a street named Law Street, and at the street which intersects at this yellow wharf, we have Congress Street. That's the Congress Street Wharf. The engineers have the responsibility of keeping the channels open of the river, maintaining the levee system, and maintaining the continuity of the intercoastal waterways. Two ships at the dock to your left, the Cape Kennedy and the Cape Knox. These are called RoRo ships, spelled R-O-R-O, an acronym for roll on, roll off. At the stern of these ships, you'll see a couple of ramps for it to pull it up vertically. These ramps can be lowered horizontal to form a bridge between the ship and the dock to allow rolling stock, such as trucks, troop transports, armored personnel carriers, jeeps, tanks, and other equipment to roll right into the giant cargo bay of these colossal vessels. These are military vessels operated by the Maritime Administration, crewed by civilians, used to carry supplies and equipment to wherever needed by the military. Canal is another tributary of water which leads to the southeast of the Gulf Island, a shortcut to the Gulf. Orange River to your left is a Holy Cross High School for boys, founded by the Brothers of Holy Cross, who also founded the University of Notre Dame. Next to your left, the oil trees that come up in usual homes, such as these steamboat houses built in 1805 and 1814 by riverboat captain Norfolk Blue and his son Paul. Both homes are occupant shaped on the east side. It goes on top of the Mississippi River steamboat. Each home is owned by the Next on your left, you see the Zephyros. This is a general cargo ship. This ship is sailing.
And then we can figure out which one it is. Take one down and one tag it together.
Okay, we're looking at the flag right here. Anyway, that ship here headed for Canada. Next ship we see the BBC Germany. There you go. Nice blue color. There's a nice looking.
Oh, I know.
Here at the Alamo Street Wharf. That ship sailing with the flag of the Bahamas, which flies off the stern. St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That's the flag. That's the flag of St. Vincent. I should have I've seen that flag before. Next on your left, the Balsa 63. Sailing under the flag of Panama. Here at the Alamo Street Wharf, a lot of steel products, steel beams, steel pipe, flat sheets of steel, rolled steel, balls of steel wire. All of these steel products are poured on foreign ships, navigating place onto 18-wheel tractor trailer trucks or railroad flat cars for overland carriage to their final destination.
No, it's right here, look. See the flag? See the flag? See it?
Some of the original buildings that were constructed years ago still made up This is a scramble. Jackson Yard 785 is
Some of y'all might not want to stick around. That's fine. You can wander off, do whatever you'd like while you're here. We'll wait a half a minute for more folks to get in.
Crawfish Towels lives it.
Sorry y'all had to wait at the gate. One of my coworkers called in sick, and that's what happens when I'm here all by myself. Everybody gets mad at me. There's people that want to go into the visitor center and watch the movie. They're going to have to wait, and y'all had to wait. Welcome to the Chalmette Battlefield, site of the Battle of New Orleans, a big battle fought between a British army approaching from downriver and an American army defending the city upriver. Chalmette Battlefield is part of Jean Lafitte National Historical Park and Preserve, one of our national park sites, one of our national treasures. And yet the Chalmette Battlefield here has got to be one of the most misunderstood treasures in our national park system. The history books tell us that the battle was fought on January the 8th, 1815. Thus the misunderstanding that it was just one battle on one day, that somehow the British managed to arrive early enough in the morning to march up here, have a battle, and they were gone by dinner time. Of course it wasn't that simple. The British actually arrived in early December of 1814 off the coast of what's now Mississippi out there on the Gulf of Mexico. And so by early January of 1815, they'd been here for over a month. During that month, there were 5 major battles in all, plus lots of other little skirmishes. The fact that the campaign dragged on for 5 battles over a month, the fact that it was so much more of a challenge than the British had ever anticipated, had a lot to do with the final outcome and the ultimate British defeat right here. Things had not looked good for the Americans when the British first arrived. There were 10 or 12,000 troops in this huge invasion force out there on the Gulf, facing just barely 4,000 or 5,000 American troops. These British troops were well-dressed, drilled, disciplined soldiers with years of experience fighting Napoleon's armies all across Europe. They were facing a ragtag American force, mostly volunteers and militia. The British had a name for these American troops, dirty shirts they were called. There were some professional soldiers, some regulars in the U.S. Army with nicer uniforms, but most of these dirty shirt troops had never fought a day's battle in their lives. So, beginning of December, on paper, who does this sound like had a significant advantage? After the long, cold, wet month of campaigning, however, the British had been foiled and frustrated every time they tried to attack the American position. So in the British camp, frustration is building up, confidence is sinking, morale is sinking, British troops are tired, cold, wet, and hungry, and they're beginning to question the judgment and the leadership of their officers. Good British troops never questioned their officers, and so there was some serious grumbling over here in the British camp. And the American side, meanwhile, just the opposite was happening. Every time the Americans held off another British attack, their morale went up, confidence in themselves went up, confidence in their officers, their leaders went up. So by early January, as they've held off all these attacks and they've become veterans now, by early January, who do you think had gained a significant psychological advantage? If you just focus on one battle one day, you kind of miss the bigger picture and how important the passing of time was for the balance of power and the ultimate outcome. A second misunderstanding about the Battle of New Orleans has to do with tactics, battle tactics. I get a comment here frequently. Well, Ranger Danny, of course, the Americans were not fighting fairly down here. We partly have Hollywood to blame for this myth that's been passed down from generation to generation. An old movie about the Battle of New Orleans way back in the 60s, it was called The Buccaneer. Y'all might have seen it. Charlton Heston played Andrew Jackson, the American commander over here, and Yul Brynner played Jean Lafitte, the legendary, the romantic privateer. Kind of an exaggerated portrayal of Jean Lafitte, but a young Charlton Heston made a very good Andrew Jackson. In the battle scene in this movie, it shows British troops in perfect formations marching across a big open field into battle, while the American troops, the dirty shirts, are scattered in the woods hiding behind trees. As the Americans fire from behind the cover of their trees, entire ranks of British soldiers are dropping dead on this field out here. And it was a horrible scene in the movie, a horrible slaughter. And as I was watching it as a kid, it kind of bothered me, and I asked my mom, you know, what's going on? why don't the British find some trees to hide behind? And she explained that the British, and this is the myth that's been passed down, the British were, as my mom explained it, and as many of you may have heard, the British were practicing traditional, accepted European battle tactics, marching in perfect formations across nice open fields, while the Americans were practicing something new, battle tactics they had learned from the Indians in North America, these guerrilla warfare tactics, like scattering in the woods, hiding behind trees. Well, the Americans were not scattered in the woods, hiding behind trees. There were no trees to hide behind. Jackson chose this site to make his stand because there was an old abandoned ditch over here, an old abandoned mill race or a mill canal. Mill was gone, canal was kind of filled in, but what's left of it runs under the little footbridge between here and the parking lot. It's filled with rainwater right now, ran from river all the way back to swamp. Jackson had his men dig it out, wider, deeper, filled it full of water, have constructed a moat from the edge of the river all the way back to the edge of the swamp, kind of where the trees are today was impassable swampland. All the mud and the muck, they piled it up just on the other side, made about a head-high embankment, an earthwork, a rampart. Jackson spread his cannon out and he spread his troops out, and they're going to try to make their stand and hold this line right here, this defensive wall across this neck of land. We kind of got a reconstructed stretch of it over there, the grassy embankment. It would have been a mud embankment at that time, stretching all the way to the river, and Jackson's going to make his stand right here, try to hold this defensive wall and hold the city of New Orleans. It was completely cleared of any trees. Jackson did not want anything to obstruct his view. He did not want anything to obstruct his field of fire, and so it was all open and clear. The field itself was farmland, belonged to the Chalmette family. This was their farm, and it was open, probably a fallow field at the time of the battle. That little summer house right there was not even here at the time, was built later, and so that's all I'm going to say about the little summer house over here. But the Chalmette family home stood a couple hundred yards downriver over here. Jackson had it bombed and burned and destroyed because he did not want this house to obstruct his view or his field of fire, and particularly he did not want the British to be able to use it as cover or hide behind. So everything was clear and open, and the British were going to have to march across this big open field employing traditional accepted European offensive tactics. The Americans are going to stay dug in behind this fortified line right here. Does that sound like guerrilla warfare tactics, or does that sound like traditional accepted defensive tactics? And if you think about it, was there really anything unfair about what the Americans were doing down here? Perhaps the biggest misunderstanding about the Battle of New Orleans, and something that some of our teachers are still teaching some of our kids and some of our schools right now, is that by the time of this battle, the War of 1812 was over, and therefore the Battle of New Orleans just didn't even matter. The Battle of New Orleans just didn't even matter. Well, of course it mattered. If it didn't matter, then the people of the United States would not have set aside this field, prime riverfront industrial property, would not have been set aside as a big open field, a national park site, one of our national treasures. If this battle didn't matter, of course, I would not be here talking about it, and the Creole Queen would not bring you guys down here for these little visits. It is true that the treaty to end the War of 1812 had been signed between British and American negotiators over in Belgium in a little town called Ghent on the 24th of December, 1814. By that time, the British had already been here for 2 weeks, and there had already been 2 battles in the campaign. But the signing of that treaty over in Belgium did not mean the end of the war. That treaty had to get from Belgium over to Washington, where the Senate had to look it over and vote on it and ratify it. Then the president had to sign the ratification, and then ambassadors from the 2 countries had to get together and exchange ratifications, and it was at that moment, well into February of 1815, that the War of 1812 officially ended. Meanwhile, the 2 armies fought it out 3 more battles on this field right here. The last battle, already been described, a horrible slaughter, a horrible scene, a horrible battle, a very lopsided victory for the Americans. Final casualty counts from that morning of fighting on January the 8th, 13 casualties on the American side, 6 dead, 7 wounded, something minimal. over 2,000 casualties on the British side, hundreds dead, lots of wounded, missing, captured, run off, and unaccounted for. A very lopsided battle, a very lopsided victory for the Americans. They describe the scene here. Americans describe the field as a sea of red. British redcoats laying all across this field, in some places 2 men, 3 men deep. It was a very surprising victory for the United States. No one had given these troops any chance of success. President Madison, Commander-in-Chief, had been sitting up in Washington awaiting the bad news any day of the fall of New Orleans. So imagine his surprise. Imagine everyone's surprise to learn of this extremely lopsided victory. As news of that victory spread across the country, so spread a great wave of patriotism and national pride like this country had never seen before. This outclassed, outnumbered, ragtag American army had overcome tremendous odds to defeat the most powerful army in the world. The best that His Majesty could put on the field had gone down right here. Americans saw this as a sign of things to come, a sign that our young country would overcome even greater odds and achieve even greater things both on and off the battlefield in the years to come. The United States was very much a young country during the War of 1812, not even 40 years old, very much in the experimental stages. And no one was really sure whether this experiment in democracy, this new idea of a government for the people, by the people, would survive very much longer. Napoleon had overrun all of Europe, the British were a few miles downriver. Things did not look good. But this victory guaranteed that the United States would survive. This victory right here guaranteed that our Constitution and our new form of government would have a chance to evolve and develop. So this place really did become a symbol of a promising future for the United States. And the date, January the 8th, became very symbolic as well. It became a national holiday, a huge patriotic national holiday, celebrated all across the country with parades and red, white, and blue decorations, flags and banquets and speeches. What patriotic national holiday does that sound like today in this country?
4th of July.
Independence Day. Well, in the decades before the Civil War, January the 8th was celebrated across the country in that fashion. Long before Thanksgiving and Veterans Day, we had January the 8th. Right along there were 3 big holidays: Washington's birthday, Independence Day, and the 8th of January. We don't really celebrate January the 8th any longer as a patriotic national holiday, but some people do observe something on the 8th of January still today. Does anyone know what that is?
Elvis's birthday.
It's Elvis's birthday. Now, I say that not just to get you people to laugh, those of you that hate history. I say that because when you're home next year, it's a long time from now, it's like 50 weeks from now, on January the 8th, 2005, whether you're listening to the radio, reading the paper, watching TV news, you are going to see or hear something about what they did at Graceland that day to commemorate Elvis's birthday. You will see something. You will not see anything about what we're doing down here at the Chalmette Battlefield to commemorate the 190th anniversary of the Battle of New Orleans. But I hope that when you're back home and you hear about Elvis's birthday, you will take a few moments and pay homage to the King of Rock and Roll. And then remember your trip to New Orleans, your visit to the Chalmette Battlefield this afternoon, and I hope you will remember not a bunch of Americans scattered in the woods, hiding behind trees, fighting a battle that did not matter. I hope you will remember how much that battle long ago did matter, how much it mattered to all those British troops that never went home, how much it mattered to all these American troops that did go home, flush with confidence and success. This victory battle mattered to all Americans as the day their young country came of age. This place came to symbolize confidence in the future, came to symbolize patriotism and nationalism, national pride. So I hope that when you hear about Elvis's birthday, you'll take a few minutes and think about what that date and what this place still symbolizes for patriotic, proud Americans all across this country. And with that, y'all got a lot of time left here, about 25 minutes. I have to decline your questions and run back to the visitor center. I'm here alone today. I got to go unlock the visitor center, which is locked up. I'm going to show the 15-minute movie. You might be noticing that I really haven't answered any of the questions, haven't told you any of the military details that you might have expected in this little history lesson. You can get that, grab a copy of our brochure, take some time, watch the little movie, look at some of the exhibits along here. They don't tell you anything about the holiday and the symbolism and Elvis's birthday, so you got to put it all together to get the complete picture. I really do have to just walk away right now and go open the visitor center, but come see you. It's amazing how important supply lines can be. The Americans kind of forgot that in the race to Baghdad earlier this year. And the British, the British supply lines were extended 70 miles by the ships on the go, and that turned out to be their real downfall. Their men were hungry and tired and cold and far away from, they didn't have any tents, they weren't allowed to have any fires, to cook anything. They were promised they would arrive in New Orleans, be warmly welcomed by the French. Join the British and help overthrow the Americans.
Is this your gift shop?
Yeah.
What do you want to book about before we? Well, the Battle of New Orleans.
The Chesapeake Bay area. There, the British managed to capture the nation's capital and burned the White House. Later, at Baltimore, Fort McHenry proved a formidable obstacle in the clash that inspired the Star-Spangled Banner. From Great Britain, Major General Edward Michael Pakenham was sent to lead a new campaign against the Gulf Coast of the United States. He and his ardent troops were experienced veterans of the Napoleonic Wars. They were confident, maybe too confident. Their goal was New Orleans. If the British occupied New Orleans, they could control America's heartlands and the valuable commerce of the Mississippi and Ohio rivers. In 1803, the United States had purchased the vast Louisiana territory from France. But many in New Orleans resented becoming Americans and remained loyal to their European heritage. The British hoped for support from within the city. They believed they could convince the renowned smugglers and privateers of Barataria to actively support their invasion. The Baratarian leaders, the Lafitte brothers, seemingly held no allegiance to either side. But Jean Lafitte, hoping for a pardon for his criminal activities, revealed the British plan to Louisiana Governor William Cleveland. Lafitte offered to help the Americans in return for an amnesty for himself and his followers. Distrusting Lafitte, Claiborne alerted the area's U.S. military commander, Major General Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson, war-tough and tested, was eager to fight the British. As a youngster, he had witnessed the horrors of battle during the Revolutionary War. Jackson always felt the British were responsible for his family's suffering. Jackson's army was an eclectic mix of regulars and irregulars. This was to eat from that to eat, including free men of color, local militia, New Orleans battalions, and Choctaw Indians. Although Jackson had earlier called these Maritarians hellish banditti, he now accepted their offer of men and material. About midnight on December 22nd, at the mouth of the Bayou Bienvenu, the first wave of British invaders arrived in shallow rapids. The following morning, the British troops arrived at Villeray Plantation. Suddenly, the British were only 9 miles from the prized New Orleans. There were few opposing forces and no defensive works to block their path. They might have achieved an easy victory had they marched on into the city. But General Keane blundered. A cautious leader, he saw that his troops were exhausted by their tedious travel. Instead of pressing forward, they set up camp and ate their first hot meal in days. When Jackson heard of the British landing, he is said to have exclaimed, "By the eternal, they shall not sleep on our soil. Gentlemen, the British are below. We must fight them tonight." The surprise of Jackson's night attack threw the British off balance. Their great opportunity had vanished. The lines were now set for the Battle of New Orleans. The lands on which the opposing forces stood were bordered on the north by a cypress swamp and on the south by the Mississippi River. The British established their headquarters at Villeray Plantation. Jackson moved his forces to the Rodriguez Plantation behind the large canal. He established his headquarters at McCarty House. Behind the Rodriguez Canal, Jackson's troops began building defensive earthworks. Ironically, Christmas Eve, 1814, nearly 5,000 miles away, English and American envoys signed a draft peace treaty. General Pakenham arrived at Villeray Plantation on Christmas Day to take command of the British forces. His orders were to pursue the invasion until he received official notification that the treaty had been ratified by both governments. General Pakenham chose January 8, 1815 for the major assault. The day of the great battle dawned cold, damp, and gray. The American line was defended by 8 artillery batteries. The first 3 were near the river, and the 4th stood alone farther along the line. Batteries 5 and 6 were near the center, while 7 and 8 guarded the swamp on Jackson's left. British rockets and cannons signaled the start. Jackson's artillery responded with shot, shell, and grape shot. Pakenham ordered his troops forward. Near the river, facing Jackson's right, the British light infantry companies of the 43rd, 93rd, 7th, and West India regiments pressed forward along the levee. Led by Colonel Robert Rennie, they charged toward Rodriguez Canal, reaching the rampart's advanced redoubt. As Jackson's men kept up a steady fire, Colonel Rennie led his men up the parapet where he was mortally wounded. Men tumbled back into the canal. Some were shot, captured, others were killed. Meanwhile, the main British attack force, under Major General Samuel Gibbs, moved forward in column by companies near the swamp. The 95th and part of the 44th regiments were to form as skirmishers and serve as an advance guard. The remaining soldiers of the 44th were assigned to carry bundles of sugarcane called fascines, and the ladders needed to cross the Rodriguez Canal and scale the American rampart. But the fascines and ladders had been left behind. The assault was delayed while men of the 44th returned to the rear to retreat. This unexpected development confused and stalled General Gibbs' advance. American batteries 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 laid down a devastating fire directly into the head of the British column. This broke the momentum of the attack. British troops were scattered. Some laid down as others continued to press forward. Pakenham directed General Keane to lead the 93rd Cavalry completely across the battlefield to support Gibbs' main column along the swamp. Trying to rally his soldiers near the rampart, General Pakenham, mounted on a charger, cheered the 93rd. From the smoke and debris of the Chalmette battlefield, Andrew Jackson emerged as a national hero. He would later become the 7th President of the United States. At the Battle of New Orleans, the British had been decisively defeated. If they had won here, they could have controlled the entire western territory of the United States. Victory by the United
Walk in New Orleans. It's at night. Such a beautiful romantic river walk. Such a beautiful night, beautiful weather. And ladies and gentlemen, we are here in the waiting line, and this is the University of Evansville group. Those are the people who don't know how to do self-check-in.
Welcome to Dr. Zany TV.
And as a result, you know, they are waiting in the line, waiting to get into the counter to get assisted to check into Evansville, and our flight is late.
I might break your camera if you don't quit telling stories about it.
Okay.
That's enough of this show.
Let's interview Professor Gwaltney. Professor Gwaltney,
Yes.
how do you feel about the flights being late?
I'm glad.
Oh, you're glad.
I'm glad. It gives me more time to sit in the airport and observe all these crazy people wandering around trying to get in front of us in line.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
And how was the training seminar?
the training seminar? What training seminar?
ASCE
Oh, is that why we came down
leadership.
here?
Oh yeah. Well,
I don't know. You need to pass that question on to one of the students. They were the ones being trained.
Straight ahead. Step straight ahead.
is that because of the hurricanes?
The hurricane was coming in. And we had to.
Yes, sir. You got the next one right down there.
So, Mr. Ben,
Hi.
you know, what do you think about the training seminar?
It was good.
Okay.
So we made about the same time.
Say something that helps us recruit others.
It definitely a plus.
All right. Good.
Food. Free food.
That's it?
My name is Ben Sperry.
Did you get any free hurricanes?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Hey.
Anybody else would like to speak about his or her feeling in the seminar?
It smells. A seminar? When's the battery run dead on that thing?
What seminar?
I got a lot of feelings, but I probably shouldn't be on camera. Good and bad.
So what do you think about the seminar?
It was good except for the school board meeting we had to sit through, to put it nicely. Well, it was
What do you
very
think,
positive.
Tim?
A lot of
I
good
liked
things.
everything but the morning and afternoon sessions. I'm kidding. It was excellent. It was excellent.
Josh,
I'm Craig on that one, the school board meeting, because he picked up a lot of girls, so it was alright. Yeah, you know.
oh, okay.
I heard about that.
Papa Bear's pimping it out.
Oh yeah. Amy,
I agree with that.
you agree with them?
It went downhill from there.
All I know is
Brittany is far away.
all I know is last night about 2 a.m. he was running on the screen, shirtless, shouting,
The Bears on Bourbon.
That may not have been him.
I know I could have recognized faces at that point in time.
Looks like driving down 161. We are taking off from New Orleans now, and we will be able to see everything. landing now in Detroit, and this is how Detroit looked from the top. Everything is ice, snow. Everything is covered with snow. This is Detroit.
How you doing?
Good.
Hey, buddy, let me know it's snow.
We came from New Orleans where the temperature is 70 when we left, and we came here to below the 20s.
Yeah, it's still